what I saw, and I haven't seen the full context, but what I saw is a mob of lawless thugs beating up on an innocent person, and it's disgusting. And I hope every single one of those people who engage in violence is prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And they will be. They will be so long as law enforcement in the state of Ohio takes their job seriously. I know Dave Yost cares a lot about these things. But yeah, I actually, you're right. Bernie did send me a clip of this, and we talked a little bit about it. I don't know the full context. I don't know how the fight started. But the one part that I saw that was really gruesome is you had a grown man who sucker punched a middle-aged woman. And where I come from, at least, when you have a grown man who sucker punches a middle-aged woman, that person ought to go to jail for a very long time. And frankly, he's lucky there weren't some better people around, because they would have handled it themselves. But if they're not going to handle it, the cops in Cincinnati, the law enforcement, you've got to prosecute people. We've had way too much lawlessness on the streets of great American cities. How many of you all have wanted to go to downtown Akron or downtown Canton or downtown Columbus for a meal, but you're worried because the local authorities in these big cities have allowed lawlessness to run wild? We have got to make great American cities safe again for families and children. If you want to take your wife or your children out for a meal.
All right, Shalom. First thing and foremost, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honor to those elder apostles, elder bishops of the great millstone that rule well. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Yeah, man. Hey, you heard the vice president, right? The vice president, the VP of America Babylon, right? You heard him. Hey, right? Hey, a narrative is being painted, man, on us Israelites, man. You know, starting with the head tribe Judah, the so-called Negro, right? You saw what he said. You saw what this Edomite said, right? The so-called white man, true nationality according to the Bible, Esau, Edom, an Edomite, right? Edomite. You see, scripture I had in mind was, let's see, an enemy. This is a precept I had in mind when I watched that, so I'm just gonna pull it up. An enemy speaketh sweetly. Let's see. Ecclesiasticus 12 verse 16 in the Apocrypha. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart, right? Your heart represents your mind. He imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. Yeah, you heard J.D. Vance. He was talking about these lawless thugs, right? Referring to the so-called Negro, right? See, which are Israelites from the tribe of Judah. But hey, like I said, a narrative is being painted against our people, man. You know, because we're coming into the time of Jacob's trouble. Jeremiah 30 verse 7. We'll get that, Lord's willing. But yeah, man, he was painting a picture as if the so-called Negroes were the ones that started that brawl in Cincinnati, right? Which really, it was the Edomites. It was a so-called white man. He's the one that went up to a so-called black man, right? From you know, the information I pulled up. He went up to the so-called black man and started slapping him or punching him or something. Like, he sucker punched him first. And then when they retaliated, you know, then it was a big uproar, right? Don't they say, whenever something happens to the small hats, right? They're like, oh, they have a right to defend themselves. They have a right to defend themselves. But we don't. You see? Hey, man, you see the hypocrisy, man, of these devils, man. Whenever it's in reference to us, we don't have a right to defend ourselves. But if the roles were reversed, I'm gonna paint a picture. If the roles were reversed and the so-called black man sucker punched a so-called white man, and then the opposite happened, and the so-called white people beat the shit out of the so-called Negroes, what do you think would have happened, man? They would be like, oh, they would have defended them. They would be like, oh yeah, they have a right to defend themselves. The blacks started it, right? You see? That's what I'm saying, man. There's no winning with this devil, man. Sirach 12, Sirach, right, also known as Ecclesiasticus, 12 and 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, right? Just like J.D. Vance, he was talking a good game. He's like, yeah, we have to have law and order, right? Law and order. But in his heart, his mind, he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. You see? And another scripture, old but gold. Well, it's not old, but we bring this out often. Verse 10, same chapter, verse 10. Never trust thine enemy. Who's the enemy of the Israelites? Who's our main enemy, right? It starts with the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, down to the least heathen, right? So our enemies, referring to Psalms 83, they're confederate against us, right? Our enemies are confederate against us, the Hebrew Israelites, which, I may sound like a broken record, but the Israelites are the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American Indian, right? So, any other nation outside of that, they're our enemies, man. And it lists them in Psalms 83, but for process of time, I'm not gonna go ahead and read it. I bring it out often though, but for the sake of this lesson, we're gonna move on. Sirach 12 and 10. Never trust thine enemy. Yeah, never trust these heathen nations, man. Don't trust any of them, but especially not Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, man. So yeah, they may humble themselves, or pretend to be humble, but really they have an ulterior motive in their mind, right, on how to overthrow you and how to get one over on you, so to speak. You see? What was? Oh, man, I had another precept on the back, on the back of my mind, Salakia. But what was it, man? Now it's gonna bother me. Let's see if there's more to this, though. Like I said, nothing too long. Bear with me. What I meant to bring out earlier, but Job 20 and 4. Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked, who's the wicked? Starts with the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, down to, all the rest of the nations, man. These other heathen, they're all wicked, man. The so-called Arab, the Chinese, man, the East Indian, all these devils, man, they're all devils. But, hey, the main devil, our main culprit, is Esau, man. Because, like I say, it always goes back to Genesis, man. Jacob versus Esau, man. That's what it all boils down to, man. Those are the main characters of this story, man, of the Lord's movie, you see? That the triumphing of the wicked is short. So yeah, the so-called white man's in power right now, but it's only for a season, right? The Lord has an expiration date on this devil, man, on his queendom. And the joy of the hypocrite, yeah, and the so-called white man's the biggest hypocrite on the planet, right? Especially the small hat, right? The Amalekite, you see? And they're Edomites too. They're just the head tribe, right? The joy of the hypocrite before a moment, though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds. Exactly, the so-called white man, he lied and said he went to the moon, right? Which that was fake. He has satellites up in the atmosphere, right? Because though his excellency mount up to the heavens, he has all the resources under his power from conquest. And his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. Right? Like his own shit. Like I said, I'm going to watch my words, man. I'm going to try to be more temperate, man. Because YouTube been messing with my videos. So, I got to watch what I say. Got to use wisdom, man. I can't just flare up and call the so-called white man this and that. Which we already know he is. But there's no point in just, let's keep it scriptural, man. Verse 7. Job 20 and 7, yet he shall perish. Yeah, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. Which dung, shit. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? Yeah, man. He shall fly away as a dream, more like a nightmare. So, hey, when this devil goes down, man, starting with Babylon, which is America. Once this devil goes down, man, his wicked empire, hey, people are going to be like, what, dang, hey, what happened? They're like, what happened? Like, this man was in rulership at one time? That's how low this devil is going to be brought down, man. People aren't going to be able to remember, his former glory, so to speak, right? When he had everyone in slavery. People are going to, like it says here, they which have seen him shall say, where is he? Exactly. So, hey, this nightmare is almost over, man. So let's keep pushing, brothers and sisters. So with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honor to those elder apostles, elder bishops of the great millstone. And shalom to the hopeful elect. Kwame Asher Allah and Abad Babal. Till next time, Lord's willing.